Welcome to this edition of Inside NAU. I'm Teresa Beer. Flagstaff as a university town brings together a unique mix of people, many working on projects most of us never hear about. One is a Northern Arizona University adjunct faculty member doing work that will benefit people on the other side of the world. Bonny Sands is a linguist specializing in the Click languages. There are about 30 Click languages still spoken today, all of them in Africa.
So Nelson Mandela, the former president of South Africa, his mother tongue is a language called isiXhosa. And isiXhosa and isiZulu, those are languages spoken by millions of people in South Africa. But the languages I work on are spoken by the, kind of like the people who are the equivalent to the Native Americans in the U.S. They're the first peoples in Southern Africa.
Sands' work is funded by the National Science Foundation. She recently returned from Namibia in the southwestern part of the continent. Most people in the area speak Afrikaans, a language introduced by the Dutch Protestant settlers several hundred years ago. Some people think that Click languages can't be written, or that the languages can't adapt to the modern era of computers. Sands says her work is helping locals realize that's not true.
In a way, reclaiming your language is a way of saying, no, we're here. And these are the words that my grandfather's grandfathers and my grandmother's grandmothers used, and they still speak to us today. Some of these words, you just could never make them up. There's so much knowledge about the landscape, the environment, the way of life that's embedded in each word.
In Namibia, Sands and two other linguists were studying a language called They interviewed dozens of people, asking them to pronounce different words. Several techniques were employed, including palatography.
You take a mixture of olive oil and charcoal powder and paint the tongue, and then the person can say a word like pa, and open their mouth, and you can see what part of the roof of the mouth was painted with that charcoal and oil mixture. And the reverse of that can also be done. You can paint the roof of the mouth and say pa, stick out the tongue and see what part of the tongue was used in producing the click.
Dr. Sands and her group used another, more high-tech method of documenting the click words, an ultrasound machine, the same technology used to see a pregnant woman's fetus. A helmet was used to keep the head still so the scientists could determine how much of the movement was the tongue and how much was the head.
The tongue is a really fast-moving muscle, and it's in the past the only way to look at the tongue was by using X-rays, and X-rays, of course, come with risk that we don't like to subject people to. So the ultrasound is really a safe way to look at the way that the tongue moves.
And this team is the first to use ultrasound in this way. The ultrasound images taken from under the chin help Sands and her colleagues see the root of the tongue. A click is made when there's suction, or when two parts of the tongue move at once.
There's nothing unusual about them. Clicks are just consonants. So, in fact, clicks almost help us learn more about the way consonants are made than other, say, just English consonants would, because the tongue is constrained in different ways, because you have to be doing so many different things with your tongue. It really tells us sort of about the really what the human body is capable of.
Young residents of this southwestern region of Africa may one day benefit from the work of Sands and her team members, because there are no educational materials for their language.
Part of why we wanted to do this study was to see how different Kung and Junkwasi were, whether the Kung kids could use the Junkwasi school materials or not, or whether they needed their own materials. So one of the things I'm doing is collecting a list of words and comparing them. So we know that some of the sounds and some of the words are different. But whether this is really a separate language or simply a separate dialect, we're not sure yet.
Now that Sands is back in Flagstaff, she's doing the more difficult part of her job, analyzing the data collected in the Kalahari Desert, comparing transcriptions made in the fields with sound waves, analyzing the clicks and how they coordinate with vowels and other consonants. knowing her work here can help the people she met and worked with in Namibia and their children and grandchildren.